Describe the independent research you would perform for council agenda items, such as the Chevron solar project.
Repeat the question.
So as a council member, what research, if any, would you take on yourself to look into it rather than just relying on city staff's research?
Well, I think, you always get a council packet. So you go through the packet, and on larger projects, like even right now, we've got, something coming up on planning that we've gotten the packet months before, just because it's in, citizen review really, because it's got an environmental impact report and things. So you know some things that are coming up and you have reports in front of you. When time permits, obviously, you take the time to discuss with the different people involved the impacts and how those truly are. I would research with other cities that have done the type of project and find out what they did, if they really saw the cost savings, how much cost savings that there was at the bottom line, and part of that is you go out to your different stakeholders in like the League of Cities and talk to them and find out what they did to be able to implement programs. Did they do it as a sole source provider? Did they contract it out? Why did they do the differences? Where did they see the savings? So the resources are there to be able to get information and ask questions, and I think we should.
What action should be taken regarding the Boys and Girls Club project?
Well, at this point, I'm not sure we can take any action. We've got a building that's already standing there, it's not completed, and they need to raise money now to complete the building. So the only thing that can be done is to assist them to complete a building in some way. It's already there, so, and it appears to be probably about, if I'm correct, it's probably about 70% complete. And so we're going to have to get more involved to be able to get that building finished to a point where it can sustain people and it can operate. Right now it's just sitting there with nobody in it.
This is just a question. Is that something that redevelopment money could be used for?
Well, you could research with the Economic Development Department and through redevelopment what kind of funding they could assist with. Could there be a low interest loan through redevelopment? There's the potential. You've got to go back into the original approval of the project and see how you can assist.
So I guess my follow-on question basically is that would you, in your opinion, would you feel that a redevelopment investment in, say, the Boys and Girls Club might be more valuable than a $250,000 parking counter at the over there on Brea Boulevard?
Well, if you're comparing it that way, like I said, I think we need to look at what our options are and sit down with the people that hold the interest in the building and see how we can get that building done. Because right now you've got a big piece of property, a big building that is just sitting there vacant. And they're needing to back and forth and see how we can get the project, or not we, but how they can get the project completed and what we can do to try to help them out. I know they're having fundraisers. They're having, the Boys and Girls Club's having an event next month or later this month. So they are trying to make progress in getting that building done. It's going to take some funds.
I don't dislike my friend's suggestion there. His comparative analysis. What about spending money on the graffiti, different street intersections versus putting it on two points?
Well, we should have graffiti abatement. We don't necessarily use redevelopment.
Proposed future street decorations down towards the mall.
Well, quite long ago, there was a group put together that studied how redevelopment should take place. Back when it was the Gateway Center, we were going to do the Gateway Center. There was going to be the Brea downtown. There was a lot of research done. There was a citizens groups that were put together for that. I think we're probably at the point where we need to put together a new citizens group and discuss where they think that the next phases of Brea where that money ought to be put in. Through those dialogues, they can understand how those funds can be implemented and how they can be used and can't be used. Once they understand that, then you can understand where that money can go. But I think roughly 10, 20, you're almost 25 years later, I think it's time where we can sit down again and discuss how redevelopment money ought to be implemented, and what areas of the city would be best beneficial for it. That's pretty much what we've done with Gateway and downtown in a focus group.
Follow-on question to the Boys and Girls Club. Just for clarity, Rick, are you saying that you would support the use of public funds into that private project? Is that, I'm just trying to
I think what I
clarify
said was,
that, or
I think what I said.
discussion on redevelopment funds, or we should?
I
Are
think
you saying we as a city would invest private or public money into that?
I think what I said was assisting them in finding ways for low-interest loans to be able to finish that project. Not the fact that we would fund the project ourselves, but that there would be find out what the low-interest abilities are, assist them in being able to try to find the ways to complete that building.
So you're saying you believe that the city should play a role in supporting the Boys and Girls Club beyond being the leaseholder in helping them raise their funds and operationalize their project?
Well, what I'm saying is, it does us no good to have a vacant building sitting there with nobody using it, that is incomplete, that, that is only gonna probably eventually draw other problems as people attempt to break into it, et cetera. It's just sitting there completely vacant. At some point, it's gonna get vandalized. At some point, people are gonna wanna break into it. I look at it from that standpoint. Sitting there empty, vacant, incomplete doesn't do anybody any good, even the residents around it, because now it's just gonna be an eyesore. So, I believe in partnerships, okay? And I think we as a city ought to get together and sit down with the Boys and Girls Club and discuss what the options are. Find the solutions without finding the problems. We need to find out what the solutions are. Are there federal grants out there that they can apply for? Are there state grants that they can apply for? Is there some sort of low-interest loan option that they can apply for? What are all of the options? And as a city, if we can assist them locate those and find those, that's a lot better than the building sitting completely vacant with nobody using it.
Just as a follow-on to that, I've been kind of involved in that project now for about 10 years.
Sure.
Boys and Girls Club leadership is in disarray. The lease is going to expire December 31st. From my perspective, there's no way possible that they're going to be able to operationalize or meet the terms of the lease by December 31st. Would you be in favor of the city actually, as the leaseholder, taking that property on as a
Well, at that point, it becomes our property. We now become responsible for it. We're the property owner. So now what do we do with it?
I think as a future city council member, that's going to be the issue that you're going to have to face, not as how do we find a loan, is what do we do with the defaulted lease on January 1st of 2011? Because that's what's going to be the situation here. It's not going to be how do we further help an organization that's in disarray put together a project. What are we going to do with the property there?
But again, you've got another year till that point.
And you've got about 4 months.
You said 2011.
January 1st.
Yeah, January 1st, 2011 is when you've got to somebody's going to have to make a decision.
Sorry, I thought you said November for some reason.
December 31st, 2010 is the default.
Got it.
Lease expiration. So that makes it up again in the next few weeks. So.
But as I said, I think we need to sit down and find out, from the people that currently hold it, how we can assist them, and find the right solutions. If we cannot find the right solutions, we end up with the building back. Now, now we become responsible for it completely.
Your challenge is we don't even know who's responsible right now.
I think it's essentially Roberta Brea Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
Still, my understanding is, but.
Are we talking about community development block grant programs that we're talking about?
No.
Boys and Girls Club specifically. But if you want to-
Yeah, I have a couple of questions on that. Things like, would you support telling me how many parking spaces are available in the parking structure, the trolley car, some of the other things that community development project money is being spent, which is taxpayers' dollars. And presently, it's supported by the city council. If you were on the council, would you support that kind of waste?
Well, CDBG funds, community development block grant funds, don't really come out of our city budget. Those are special earmarked funds towards projects that come from another source.
That isn't the question. The question,
Yeah.
would you support those kind of waste using community development block grant money?
Okay, but you're saying community development block grant money, okay? So it is the question, clearly, okay? Community development block grant money is just that, is a block grant for a special project. It is earmarked. It does not come out of our general fund. It's not coming out of our $53 million city budget. It comes from a whole different source. So it's a different area that the money comes from. It can come.
Let me word it differently. If, regardless of where the funds come from, would you support telling me how many vacant parking spaces there are and putting that, fixing up the city park where you widen the sidewalk to put these pipes in there and the trolley car, which is a waste of taxpayers' money.
Well,
I don't care where it comes from, it's taxpayers' money. Would you support those kind of waste?
Well, you've got multiple items in there, okay? And you're...
Yes or no? Will you support them? No, I don't need a long written answer. I need a
But-
yes or no. Not a political answer.
No, help me out here, okay? You're asking me about multiple items, okay?
You're out of the time then.
You're asking me about a parking counter, you're asking me about a crosswalk, and you're asking me about the trolley car. Now, the trolley cars already exist, okay? They're already sitting in the parking lot, they're already paid for, the city owns them. Are there options and benefits to our trolley cars? Sure there are. One of those were that when they did the senior citizens loop, okay?
I don't need political answers, Rick. I need a yes or no. Would you support them or will you not? Period. Yes or no. Not a whole long essay about all of this.
Well, I'm
to
going to give you
justify
an
it.
answer because you've got...
Would you or wouldn't you?
No, you've got multiple items in there, so it depends on the...
Yes or no?
It depends on the item on the agenda of what it is.
If you can't answer yes or no, I withdraw the question.
You've got multiple items in there. You've got more than one. I can't answer yes or no when it's a compound question.
A, B, C, D.
Actually, we did have a question about redevelopment money and how would you identify practical ways to spend it in such a way that would benefit residents? And I think you've already touched on that. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add or if there.
I think I have touched on that I believe that after, 25 years, it's probably time to put together another community group with, the stakeholders. It's citizen money. We need to find out where they would like that money to go and how they want that money used. And we get city staff involved with the residents.
Any other follow-ups on redevelopment? Yes.